What did I tell you I'd do? If I found your sheep grazing another man's land?
Year is 1944. While the world is engulfed in the chaos of war, another storm brews far from the front lines, deep in the untamed heart of Montana. The Dutton Ranch, once a symbol of strength and tradition, now stands on the edge of a new kind of battlefield. And at its center is Spencer Dutton, a man transformed by fire, tragedy, and bloodshed. Scarred by the ghosts of war and the memories of what he's lost, Spencer returns to a land that feels both familiar and foreign. The Montana he once knew is slipping away, buried beneath the weight of change, ambition, and betrayal. The innocence he carried is long gone, replaced by a quiet, simmering fury and a relentless sense of duty. His journey from a grieving son to a battle-tested warrior has come full circle, and now the fate of the Dutton name rests squarely on his shoulders. But Montana doesn't wait for anyone. Greedy outsiders circle like vultures, hungry for a piece of Dutton land. Corruption seeps in through politics and power, while old allies grow distant and new enemies emerge from the very heart of the community. It's not just the fences that are being torn down, it's the very foundation of everything the Duttons have built. As Spencer struggles to preserve his family's legacy, he discovers buried secrets that threaten to unravel the past and dangerous truths that could shatter their future. The weight of history presses down on him. Every decision is a gamble. Every misstep could be fatal. This isn't just about land anymore. This isn't even just about survival. This is a war for identity, for honor, and for the soul of the American West. The Duttons are fighting not only to hold on to what's theirs, but to define who they are in a world that no longer plays by the old rules. Spencer, now a hardened and cunning leader, must walk a treacherous path where loyalty is rare, trust is earned in blood, and the cost of failure is everything. In 1944, the Dutton legacy stands at a crossroads. And what comes next will either forge a new dynasty or bring the entire empire crashing down. The tension between Spencer Dutton and his sons simmers like a storm just beyond the mountains' quiet, but ready to explode. They are no longer boys clinging to their father's wisdom. They're young men with fire in their hearts and questions on their minds. They've grown up in the shadow of Spencer's legacy, shaped by the harsh land and even harsher expectations. But as the world changes, so do they. And now, their dreams, their values, and their visions for the future don't always align with the man who raised them. What once united them, blood, land, and legacy, is now at risk of tearing them apart. The Dutton name still commands respect, but its weight is becoming a burden the younger generation isn't sure they want to carry. Some still cling to the ranch and everything it stands for. Others look beyond the fence line, toward a world that's moving faster than Montana's wide skies can contain. The question hangs in the air like smoke after a fire. Do they fight to preserve their father's way of life, or do they burn it down to build something new? As internal conflicts grow, external threats close in like vultures circling a wounded beast. Rumors spread of land developers eyeing the Dutton Ranch, lured by profit and power, backed by corporations with no respect for the blood spilled to protect that land. These aren't just businessmen, they're predators, calculating and ruthless, armed with contracts instead of guns, but just as deadly. What they want isn't just property, it's dominion. And to take it, they're willing to destroy everything the Duttons have spent generations building. And then there's the war. Though World War I may be drawing to a close overseas, its echoes still thunder through Spencer's soul. He's returned home, a changed man, his body bearing the scars of battle, his mind haunted by the violence he's seen. His leadership is shaped by loss, by sacrifice, by a brutal understanding of what it means to fight for something that can't be replaced. But his sons? They didn't see the war. They only see the aftermath. And they question whether the cost of holding on to the past is worth the pain it brings. Each day, Spencer is forced to confront an agonizing reality. The land he fought so hard to return to is slipping from his grasp, not just from outside threats, but from within his own bloodline. His sons are pulling away, forging their own paths, building dreams that may never fit within the borders of the ranch. He wants to protect them from the world, from pain, from the weight of the Dutton name. But how do you shield someone from a legacy they never asked to inherit? And as Spencer grapples with these impossible choices, a storm brews in the distance. New enemies hidden, organized, and merciless plot in the shadows. They are not content with stealing land. They want to erase the Duttons entirely. Spencer has faced war zones and foreign battlefields, but what's coming now is different. This time, the war is at his doorstep. This time, the casualties will be personal. The walls are closing in. The clock is ticking. And Spencer must decide, what will he sacrifice to protect his family? How far will he go to keep the Dutton name alive? Meanwhile, his sons are beginning to rise, each with their own vision, their own scars, their own fire. The next generation is no longer waiting in the wings, they are stepping into the arena. But unity is not guaranteed. And as they wrestle with identity, purpose, and loyalty, the question looms large. Will they carry forward the Dutton legacy or bury it once and for all? In a world where loyalty is tested, blood is not always thicker than ambition. And as the fight for the Dutton future begins, only one thing is certain. The battle for this land and this family is far from over. Only time will tell. As the season unfolds, long-buried secrets begin to claw their way to the surface. Old grudges long forgotten are rekindled, alliances once unshakable are pushed to the breaking point, and enemies both old and new emerge from the shadows, eager to strike. The world is changing, and for the Dutton family, survival is no longer enough. The battle for their future is about to become personal in ways they could never have imagined. Spencer Dutton and his sons, hardened by the brutal horrors of war, have already faced their darkest moments. But the true test of their strength is just beginning. The Dutton legacy is under siege as never before. Every corner of their land, every ounce of their pride is threatened. This time, the stakes aren't just about survival, they're about holding on to a name, a history, and a legacy that runs deeper than the soil beneath their feet. In 1944, it's not just about enduring, it's about winning. And Spencer knows that, to keep his family's empire intact, he must rise to the challenge of a lifetime. The land, the very foundation of their existence, is slipping from their grasp. As the trailer teases, the battle ahead will be fierce and unforgiving, leaving no one unscathed. The question is, will Spencer Dutton emerge victorious, or will he and his sons become the last echoes of a dying dynasty, written in blood and sacrifice? The Dutton family's tension is reaching a boiling point. As Spencer steps into the role of leader, the weight of command presses down on him like never before. His relationship with his sons, once built on trust and shared hardship, is crumbling. Their world, once a tight-knit unit built around the ranch, the land, and the Dutton name, is evolving, and with it, so are the desires and ambitions of Spencer's sons. Ethan, the eldest, once a mirror of his father, begins to question everything he was raised to believe. Strong-willed, loyal, and devoted to the ranch, Ethan has always stood at Spencer's side. But the pressures of the outside world, the rising tide of change, and his own growing desire for independence are pushing him away from the very life his father has fought to preserve. His internal battle between loyalty to his family and the lure of freedom threatens to tear them apart, and in a family defined by its pride, that could be a devastating blow. Meanwhile, Isaac, the younger son, has always been the wild card. The Duttons' ranching life has never truly been his calling, and as the world shifts around him, Isaac grows more restless, more determined to carve out a future of his own. His dreams pull him in a direction far removed from the legacy of cattle and land, but Spencer won't easily let go. He's already lost too much, and losing Isaac to a life outside the ranch may be more than he can bear. The battle between father and son escalates to a breaking point, each trying to define what it means to be a Dutton. But the fight for the family's future is not just being waged within their walls, it's being fought on the land itself. The developers have arrived. Once a distant threat, they're now knocking on the Duttons' doorstep, hungry for the ranch that has become a symbol of power and pride. These outsiders, aligned with influential figures in Montana, view the land as nothing more than a commodity ripe for exploitation. They see the Dutton name as a relic of the past, a stumbling block in their pursuit of profit. They have no respect for the history of the land or the sacrifices made to protect it. But Spencer Dutton is not a man who bows to anyone. He's spent a lifetime defending this land, and he'll do whatever it takes to keep the ranch and the Dutton name intact. This battle will not just be about land. It will be about identity, about who the Duttons are and what they stand for. For Spencer, the ranch is the cornerstone of everything he's fought for. Without it, the Duttons would cease to exist. Yet as Spencer fights to preserve the legacy, his grip on the land and his family is slipping. Betrayals come from unexpected places. Old friends, longtime allies, even neighbors who once stood by his side are now turning against him. The very people who helped build the fences and shared in the hardships of winter are now the ones whispering behind his back, questioning the Dutton name. This new war isn't just one of fists and fire. It's one of politics, manipulation, and shifting loyalties. And it's one that Spencer will have to fight with every ounce of his strength. The true battle, however, may lie within the walls of Spencer's own home. As the pressure mounts, the cracks in the father-son relationship deepen. Ethan, burdened by the responsibility of leadership, finds himself isolated and vulnerable. A shocking betrayal nearly costs him everything and teaches him the harsh truth. The Dutton name might be powerful, but it also makes them a target. Isaac, the youngest, is no longer willing to carry the weight of tradition. In a fierce argument with Spencer, he makes a choice that will alter the course of his life. Isaac leaves without a trace, his departure leaving a painful silence that cuts deeper than any wound. As he ventures into a world where the Duttons are seen as the enemy, Isaac is drawn into a radical movement that threatens everything the family has fought to protect. His once loyal heart now beats for a cause that stands against everything his father holds dear. The Dutton legacy is on the line, and this season, every decision, every betrayal, and every sacrifice will push the family to its limits. Spencer must decide how far he's willing to go to protect the ranch, his family, and everything they've built. The Duttons' fate hangs by a thread, and the war for their future is just beginning. Back on the ranch, Spencer is left with questions that haunt him more than any war ever did. What did I do wrong? Can I save my sons from each other? From themselves? From me? And just as he begins to lose his grip, the past comes crashing through the gates. A woman appears older now, weathered by time and grief. She doesn't want land. She doesn't want revenge. She wants closure. She claims to know secrets about the Duttons that no one else does. Her arrival sends shockwaves through the family, especially when it's revealed she may be connected to Spencer's long-buried past and the boy's mysterious mother. Spencer, who has spent years protecting his sons from the truth, now finds that the past refuses to stay buried. Rumors swirl about the woman he once loved. Was she a war widow? A stranger from across the ocean? Or someone from his life before the ranch, before the war, before the Dutton name consumed him? Her presence cracks open old wounds, forcing Spencer to confront the most painful chapter of his life and the choices that changed everything. While Spencer wrestles with ghosts, the attacks on the ranch become more personal, more vicious. Lawsuits, forged deeds, silent buyouts. And then, something worse, a fire. A blaze rips through the cattle barns, destroying generations of work. No lives lost, but a message delivered loud and clear. In the ashes, investigators find a strange symbol burned into the dirt, a symbol Spencer hasn't seen since the war in Africa. It's a cruel, cryptic warning. This war is global. This enemy is watching. And they've only just begun. The Duttons are outnumbered, outgunned, and divided. And yet, Spencer knows one thing: they are not broken. Not yet. But the cost of unity may be steep. He must bring his sons back before it's too late. Before Isaac becomes a weapon against them. Before Ethan is swallowed by bitterness and revenge. Before the family loses everything. With the land under siege, their legacy on the line, and shadows from the past creeping closer, the Duttons are no longer just fighting for survival. They're fighting for who they are, for who they will become, for whether the Dutton name means anything at all in a world that wants to erase it. And in Season 3 of 1923, one truth becomes painfully clear: the land is the battlefield. But the war is for the soul of the family. But if there's one thing history has taught us, it's that Duttons don't go down without a fight. With every attack, every betrayal, every crack in the family, Spencer begins to remember who he used to be: the man who survived war, the man who fought tooth and nail for the woman he loved, the man who swore to protect his family at all costs. That man is coming back. And this time, he's not just defending a ranch, he's defending everything he has left. At the same time, we start to see flashbacks, pieces of Spencer's past that have never been shown before. His time with Alex, their happiest moments, their hardest trials, her final days. And it all paints a portrait of a man who's lost more than most could bear. These glimpses into Spencer's memory don't just add depth, they reveal motives. Every decision, every rule, every warning he's ever given his sons stems from one simple truth: he's terrified of losing again. Season 3 isn't just building toward a battle. It's building toward a reckoning. Every member of the Dutton family must decide who they are, what they stand for, and how far they're willing to go to protect what's theirs. The ranch is no longer just land. It's a symbol of survival, of sacrifice, of blood spilled across generations. But survival comes at a cost. And as Spencer begins to realize, some prices may be too high even for a Dutton. By the end of this section, it's clear there's no turning back. Spencer and his sons are on a path that will define not just their legacy, but their very souls. A collision course with destiny, and not everyone will make it out alive. As 1923 Season 3 storms into its second half, the tension shifts from simmering emotional strife to full throttle, edge-of-your-seat suspense. The Duttons are at war on every front. Internal fractures run deep, as old wounds tear open, and enemies close in with ruthless precision. Every move Spencer Dutton makes is under the microscope, every word twisted into weaponry, and every ally a potential traitor in the making. This is no longer just a story about defending a ranch. This is a battle for legacy itself, one that is under siege like never before. Spencer Dutton is pushed to his absolute breaking point. For decades, he's carried the crushing weight of grief, the loss of Alex, the horrors of war, and now a widening chasm between himself and his sons. But this season, we witness a side of Spencer that's colder, sharper, more calculating than ever before. Gone is the man who once sought peace. What remains is a man who has nothing left to lose, and when a Dutton reaches that breaking point, the cost is high. Someone will pay the price. The land developers have upped the stakes. After the devastating fire, they don't back down, they double down, now targeting the ranch's critical water rights and fabricating false claims to block the Duttons from using what's rightfully theirs. Legal attacks come in relentless waves, backed by corrupt judges and politicians who've sold their souls for profit. The Duttons are being choked out without a single bullet fired. But Spencer is no longer fighting alone. He calls in favors from a network of old war contacts, men from Africa and Europe who owe him their lives. One of them, a former intelligence officer, emerges from the shadows hiding in the Montana mountains under a new identity. This man brings more than just strategic warfare. He holds secrets, dark, dangerous secrets. And one of those secrets reveals a deeper conspiracy behind the land grabs. This isn't just about businessmen trying to make a profit. It's part of a broader post-war syndicate bent on reshaping the American West piece by piece, and the Dutton Ranch is the last prize they need to claim. As Spencer uncovers the depths of this conspiracy, back at the ranch, Ethan is forced to step up in ways he never expected. With his father absent, handling the legal battle, Ethan finds himself thrust into the daily responsibilities of managing the ranch, overseeing cattle drives, security, and, most importantly, the family's safety. For the first time, he feels the crushing weight of what his father has carried for years. And in that moment, Ethan begins to understand Spencer's relentless drive, but that understanding comes too late. Isaac returns, but not as the man the Duttons hoped he would be. He's changed, hardened, more distant. There's a new fire in his eyes, one that's not easily quenched. At first, the family welcomes him home with open arms, relieved to have him back. But it doesn't take long for them to realize that Isaac is no longer the same. He's seen too much, and he's brought something darker with him, a dangerous group from his past that's not done with him yet. And now, their fight becomes the Duttons' fight. One fateful night, under cover of darkness, intruders breach the ranch perimeter. What begins as sabotage quickly turns into something far worse: violence. Fences are torn down. Livestock is poisoned. And then, a ranch hand loyal to the Duttons since Jacob's time is found murdered. The first death on Dutton land in years, and it's personal. Spencer returns to find blood staining the soil, fury igniting in his veins. This is no longer about survival. This is about vengeance. The murder sets off a chain of events that sends Spencer into isolation, returning to the quiet corners of the ranch where he and Alex once dreamed of peace. But it's in this silence that he rediscovers his true purpose, not just as a rancher, but as a protector. And he knows now that to protect his family and the legacy of the Dutton name, he has no choice but to fight with everything he has. He calls his sons together in a rare moment of emotional clarity. He lays it all out: the past, the present, the enemies circling them, and asks one question: are you ready to fight for this land? Not just with your hands, but with your hearts. For the first time in the season, Ethan and Isaac stand side by side with their father. Divided as they've been, different as they are, they finally understand that this land, their legacy, is worth fighting for, not just for themselves, but for those who came before them. In that moment, the Duttons are united. But unity doesn't equal safety. The syndicate, the real enemy, isn't backing down. They have something big planned, something public, something that could wipe the Dutton name off the map forever. A hearing is coming. A federal inquiry into the Duttons' land claims, livestock practices, and water rights. But this isn't about legality. It's a setup designed to discredit the Duttons and seize their land once and for all. Spencer knows this, and he's determined not to let it happen. Digging through decades of documents, old land surveys, and even Jacob Dutton's journals, Spencer uncovers a hidden deed signed, sealed, and witnessed granting the Duttons ownership under a forgotten federal land trust. If Spencer can prove it, the syndicate's case will collapse. But there's a catch. The only living witness to this deed, an old friend of Jacob's, has been presumed dead for years. The last known trace of him leads to a reservation deep in northern Wyoming. Spencer knows the stakes. He sets out alone to find this man fully aware that the journey could be a wild goose chase, or worse, a trap. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Ethan and Isaac are left to hold the line. With their father gone, the pressure mounts. The ranch is on the edge, and they know it. This time, they either step up or everything they fought for will crumble to dust. Spencer rides toward the unknown. The ranch prepares for war. Armed guards, locked gates, a town split down the middle. The hearing looms just days away. If they win, the land remains theirs. If they lose, it's the end. No more Dutton Ranch. No more legacy. Just a story fading into dust. Share your thoughts in comments section and subscribe my channel for more 1923 updates.